Hey, family, and welcome to One Take Live. I'm Monica May, your host. And every Thursday, we give someone or an entity, an organization, about 15 minutes to just talk out of whatever realm they want to have a conversation with me about. And tonight, our guest is the one and only Dr. Keita Joy. And Keita, can I go back and tell them how we met?
Go ahead, girl. Tell them. You know what you do. You spill the tea, so go ahead. Tell them.
Listen, there is this event that we have in Orlando every year that a lot of ladies put together, and it's called Bring Out the Dolls, and the dolls are then distributed to young girls and that who want them. And so I walked in the door, and Keita Joy came over to me, and she said, "You don't know this, but I've been dying to meet you." And she just started her story. But the connection was, she said, "I need you to meet my mom." And when she said that, I just said, oh my God. First of all, I fell in love with her energy. And let me tell you, there, it just has developed into a friendship, a relationship, just a reverence for each other, our talents, and just who we are. So thank you so much for being on with us this evening. So
Yes.
I'll take us back from, not from the beginning, but let's talk about your TED Talk was the most recent thing. Then I want to go back to Iyanla. Now, who has that kind of a room to start off with, you know?
I know, right?
You are on fire.
During the pandemic, Monica.
Let's talk.
Okay? During the pandemic. So you want me to go back to how all this came to be, starting with Iyanla?
Yeah.
Absolutely. So I think a lot of times people don't know behind the scenes the amount of hard work that it takes to see these things actually come to fruition. There is no such thing. I be wanting people to know, like, please, ain't nothing overnight over here.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, nothing is overnight.
That's it.
But what I have seen is just the blessings of being obedient to God. That's one thing. Like, if I could just, I'm that person. And anytime someone asks me, how'd you get to where you are? It's like, I can't leave God out of that equation. He's the glue. It's everything. Him. He's the one that downloads all these crazy ideas that I get. Like, I got to give him credit. Like, anything that you guys see me doing, it's because God's like, hey, so I want you to do this. I'm like, and I'm like, you sure? Even I don't be having no money sometimes, nothing. He'd be like, it's cool. I got you. Just go ahead and do it. Right. I'm like, all right. And it just shows the power of being obedient to God. That has literally been my story and my testimony. And so behind the scenes, producers reach out to me. And the power of social media is real. And the power of showing up consistently is real. And so I consistently show up on, Instagram, Facebook, showing off my talents, whether it's with videos or pictures, captions, and producers would come out to me and say, hey, I think you do
that. You do all of that? You do all of that yourself?
Yeah. And I do it all myself with my phone.
Okay.
Most of the stuff with my phone using iMovie. So there's like no excuse. You can make it happen. And the same thing that in these industries, they look for raw talent. So they're looking for people that they can make a show with. So you don't necessarily have to have everything all together. Everything doesn't need to be flashy. It's just, do you have talent? Are you actually excellent and good at what you do? And can you articulate and convey that? If you can do that, they can come in because they're going to package everything anyway.
Okay.
And so I realized I just need to continually show up. So producers would reach out to me. And I remember Kevin Hart said something that reminded me of my story. He's like, man, people don't know behind the scenes how many pilot shows I've been a part of, and how right at the end, they're like, nope, sorry, we're not doing it. And that literally was my story. I have been a part of some really good productions, Monica, that no one knows about. And at the end, they're like, yes, so we're not doing that. But you're great, though.
We're going in another direction.
Yeah, we're going in another direction, but we'll keep in contact. You're really good. And I'm like, okay, I just got my hopes up, told my whole family about this. We've been filming all of that. And then they scrap it, but that's show business. And so one day a producer that I've been working with reached out to me. And even that, Monica, you know where we live. I don't live in Hollywood, Monica. I
Right.
don't even live in Atlanta by Tyler Perry Studios.
Right.
I live in like suburbia in Orlando. Okay. I'm next to a Target, you know,
And that's
uh,
it.
yeah, a Chick-fil-A. Like that's what I'm next to. But when you're in purpose, opportunity will always present itself no matter where you are. So I remember I was getting ready to take a shower. Producer calls me. It's like, we've got this show concept. And for one of the episodes, I think you'd be a great fit. And it's a white woman. And she says, do you know Iyanla Vanzant? I said, lady, you know I know who that is.
Do I?
Right. And she started laughing, and pretty much from there she was like, I'll see if you need to audition for it, because I've already auditioned for a lot of stuff behind the scenes. So it was kind of like, we'll see if you need to. Let me tell how good my God is. She came back to me a couple days later and said, you don't have to audition for it. I'm actually going to go before you.
Okay. Okay.
Right. So she's going to represent me on my behalf.
Uh-huh.
The producer.
She did that thing. She did
Didn't
it.
she?
She did that.
She did that. And literally the next day, she said, yep, they loved you. And that was so encouraging, because they means Iyanla Vanzant loved me.
Yes.
That's what they meant.
Let's talk about that clip. We were trying to, like I said, upload it. I couldn't, the sound was not quality for me. So there was a clip that I wanted you to go over about pain. When you have your clients embrace the pain that they may be going through to get to the next level. Talk about that for just a moment.
Yeah, absolutely. I think a lot of times we run away from pain. And I love her.
Pain.
You said what?
Pain. Nobody likes
Nobody. I don't like it. We were just talking about some of the pain that I felt yesterday, having to do virtual school with my children. That was a type of pain. So we always go through it. And a lot of times our initial reaction is like, flight. Like, I just want to flee. I don't want to deal with it. Pain where? Pain who? But we don't realize that purpose and pain, they coexist together. And that was so liberating for me when I realized that I didn't have to run from pain, that purpose and pain coexist together. And it's all about, what can I learn from pain? What can pain teach me? How can I use this pain and channel it into my purpose? Because pain is just an indication of something that maybe you need to work on, something that needs to shift or a change, something you need to pay attention to. But it's not some big boogeyman, how we look at pain, that we need to just kind of flee from it.
Or take something to cover it up.
Exactly. Mask it.
Alcohol, be it anything.
Mm-hmm.
We can be excessive when it comes to numbing ourselves.
Absolutely.
And when I keyed into that, I was just, you always mesmerized me, but keying into that particular phrase was just so on time. So you made it onto Iyanla, and you just, I don't know, you just sparked life on that camera, and that was wonderful. Now you then went from there to do a TED Talk, and that was like one of those bucket list things that I think, talk about that.
It was. So to me, that was just another manifestation of miracles. That was like, as a speaker, that's one of those bucket lists that you want to be able to check off and say, yeah, did TED Talk. And so I always put that out in the universe. I always told God I would love to do a TED Talk one day. But it's not something where you just pick up the phone and say, hey, I want to do a TED Talk, put me on there. It's a lot of it is, it's relationships, it's timing, it's having the right pitch, something that they're looking for that's unique, that stands out. So this is something I've wanted for 2 years. I've wanted this. And a lot of my close friends know that I've shared these inner secrets with them. Like, I love to do a TED Talk one day. And I remember, this is why I say the beauty of relationships. Relationships are a powerful force. And it's all about building those bridges before you have to walk across them.
Absolutely.
So and I think a lot of people, I don't boast and talk about all the relationships that I have, but I'm very blessed behind the scenes to have built quality relationships with people. And that to me goes to when you're a genuine person, you will genuinely connect with other genuine great people.
Mhm.
And so that's why being a good person will never go out of style, because that is one of the reasons why I ended up getting this TED Talk opportunity, was just me being a good person and being vulnerable enough to share my story in front of someone else who's a really genuine soul. And I didn't know, afterwards she said, "Wow, you have an amazing story." Here she goes, Monica. "This would be a great TED Talk."
Talk. Can you share that story with us in the last few minutes that we have?
Yeah, absolutely. So my journey just as a Black woman in mental health, I've had a lot of ups and downs, and I suffer from a mental disorder called trichotillomania, repetitive behavior disorder, where I pull my hair. So many people who have this disorder, it's either pulling from the scalp. You can pull your eyebrows, eyelashes, and other areas of your body. It's a way that you deal with stress. It's also related with obsessive compulsive disorder and high anxiety disorder as well. And so I really talked about, once my father passed when I was 11, that triggered wanting to find some sense of control and cope with the pain that I was feeling. So that became one of my coping mechanisms. And I felt so much shame for years because, especially in the Black community, our hair is a big part of who we are as a woman. And so I just felt ashamed, embarrassed. I covered it up, but never really got real treatment. And
Mhm.
so I talked about that journey just as a Black woman, feeling as if I always had to be excellent, always have to be on, always have to be willing to perform. And there's no space to be weak, to be vulnerable, to need help. And just that journey of how hard that was for me to cover up something that I'm doing and no one knows about it, and still internally I'm hurting, and getting to that place where I can find healing and cope with the pain that I was feeling in my life.
So that started at 11. When did you finally get help for the mental health disorder?
Ooh, I started at 11. I didn't start really researching it until I was 19, 20. So that's a
Wow.
long time. And then from there, I only started researching it, but not really actually going after the help yet. It was still scary. Once you actually realize it's a real condition and you read the symptoms and the side effects and you're literally reading your life on paper, that was overwhelming in itself. So then it took me late 20s. It took a little bit more time where I got a little bit more courage to go after and seek help. And so I started seeing a therapist. And then as the years went on, I wanted even more specific help, like a community of people who understood what I was going through. And then I started meeting with other women who suffered from trichotillomania as well. But it took a long time to get open about that, really long time.
But now looking at how your pain is turning into his glory, and
Yes.
and right, and you're using it to pull other people into your circle. In the last few minutes, I want to talk about Success Uncensored, because you have an amazing model for creating success in business women and people like me.
Oh, you a businesswoman too now, Monica. Yes. Um, I love it because I feel like my success formula, it's liberating and it's freeing. I really believe, especially now more than ever, we have an identity crisis in this world, and especially in America. People do not know who they are. You can see it in children all the way up to adults. We are confused with our identity. So what I love with my success formula is it always brings it back to self. So if you want fulfillment, purpose, success, whatever it is that you value, it comes back to you first. So first it's do you, and that's figuring out, what are your values? What do you care about? Like, drown out all the noise, even your own mama, like drown all of that out, get still and figure out, what do I care about? What matters to me? And that should be your focus. So that's what do you is all about. Figuring out, what are my values, my strengths, my talents, my gifts, and making sure that that becomes my priority. And then doing it well is operating in excellence. And so many of my blessings, Monica, that people see It's because when I was a first grade teacher to now being a CEO of my own company, I always believe in operating in excellence.
There you
And
go.
then doing it consistently means making sure that you persevere and know how to pivot when things change.
Hmm.
At the end of the day is to get to your goal. So we can't quit.
So do you purposefully
Yes,
and be
that's right.
about it? You know, we just had Art Howell, who is with the Orange County Health Department. He chimed in and he said, kudos, ladies, for talking about mental health. So things are shaping up for our community in terms of that. We're talking about Black people. And I think if they see people or hear people like you and I talk about it, then they will fulfill going to see a doctor when they know that they
Yes.
do. In order to hear more from Dr. Keita Joy, you can go to drkeitajoy.com, right?
Yes.
Or
Yes.
actually, Keita, Keita, and we put it right down there. Visit keitajoy.com. And you know what, Keita? I'm turning this One Take Live into a podcast, and this would definitely be one of those shows that I would tell people for the rest of it, tune into the podcast. That means I have to have you back because we're already a minute and 30 over. All right?
All right. Well, you know, I love you, Monica. I'm ready to come back.
You gotta come back. Tell Miss Dandra I said I love her. That's her
I
mom.
will.
Yeah, and give my best to your husband and the kids. God bless you, sis. Thanks for being on One Take Live tonight.
Thank you.